He's going to make a speech to Parliament later, but he's expected to give a real sense of where he's going to make cuts to public spending. And that's crucial, really, to France and the French economy, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah. 50 billion euros, in fact, of cuts that we have to find out more details of. We won't be getting specific details from Manuel Valls. It'll take another 2 weeks before we get the government's total plan on where they're going to swing the axe. But what we will hear is where Manuel Valls' priorities lie, where perhaps he won't be cutting spending, more likely to see. Now, these reductions are necessary not only to keep France's budget deficit in line, it's already in excess of the 3% limit set by the European Union, but also to fund the so-called Responsibility Pact, François Hollande's plan to reduce taxes on business to help them create jobs. To get an idea, though, of where they might be cutting spending, let's take a look at how French public spending breaks down now. You can see the vast majority of the budget goes on social security, but there's still a significant amount, too, that accounts for what pays for public staff, ministries and state agencies, of which they are many, and some of the cost reductions will be brought about by closing or merging state agencies that overlap in their work. Yuka Royer has been looking at one example of a body that could be up for the chop.
It's a real estate agency like no other. Sovafilm was created in 2006 to speed up the sales of state-owned land and property, like disused railway lines, closed prisons or old military barracks. Today, it's been deemed useless, or worse still, a burden on the state budget. France's Court of Auditors says the company has not paid a penny to the state since 2009. This, despite the fact that it has sold some buildings and land, like this site around a former railway track.
We sold it in 2013 for around 20 million euros.
Problem is, none of that money went to the state coffers. Instead, Sovafilm used it to fill its own war chest. The firm has 165 million euros in capital and an additional 65 million euros in cash savings. The public spending watchdog says the company's business model makes no sense and that it should be shut down immediately. The firm's management contests the court's recommendation.
It's silly to close a business that's working, that's making money. It's common sense.
Its latest project, to renovate this former ministry in Paris and increase its value. But there's a catch. The future tenant is the French government. Sovafilm plans to spend 200 million euros for renovating the site and expects to get 1 billion euros in rent over 30 years from the state. A plan that will certainly not go down well with taxpayers.
Let's move on to a quick look at the markets now, and in particular the technology sector, which has seen some of the biggest moves in recent days. Let's take a look at some of those well-known shares. Facebook, Twitter and Netflix, as you can see, some of the big fallers on Wall Street. These the difference in their share price in the past week. In fact, that's led to fears that there could be a bubble in the sector that we had been hearing a lot about recently that might be about to burst, investors taking their money out of those stocks before that might happen. It's led to greater falls on the Nasdaq in particular on Wall Street, which has, of course, a very heavy weighting of technology shares. Let's take a look at what's happening on the markets in Asia today, though. Technology stocks in Japan, I can tell you, were hit as well, but it was in fact the Bank of Japan that was moving shares the most on the Nikkei in Tokyo. It's decided to stick to its plan of monetary stimulus despite the recent sales tax rise, so it'll be continuing to increase monetary stimulus as planned, but not making any fresh moves there.
Companies news now. Stephen's going to start with some disappointing news for Samsung.
Yeah, it seems those selfies like we saw at the Oscars, Ellen DeGeneres, haven't had much of an effect on Samsung's earnings. It says operating profits will be less than $8 billion in the first quarter, down on the same period last year. It will be the second quarter of falling profits at the South Korean firm. Samsung is counting on its new Galaxy S smartphone, which goes on sale globally this Friday, to boost earnings. The British supermarket chain Asda is to create up to 12,000 jobs over the next 5 years. Walmart, which owns Asda, said it would be opening stores in the south of the UK. The company currently employs 172,000 people in Britain. And the owner of French department store Galeries Lafayette has bought a 6% stake in the retailer Carrefour. The stake is valued at 1.3 billion euros. Galeries Lafayette recently sold its share of the French supermarket chain Monoprix for just under 1.2 billion.
Now, we're going to talk about iconic figures here on France 24, and if you're talking iconic figures, this is a real iconic figure.
It's not you.
Thank you, Stephen. It's not you either. It's David Hasselhoff.
Yes, the former Baywatch and Knight Rider star. I lost my train of thought there. The former Baywatch and Knight Rider star decided to clear out his attic, all in the aid of charity. He's putting some memorabilia from his most well-known TV shows, including this incredible model of him, which was created for SpongeBob SquarePants. It's 3.6 metres long and frankly terrifying, if you ask me. So he's decided to sell all this stuff in aid of charity, but he says that it was also a chance to do a bit of a spring clean.
But we decided to get together with Julian's because I have so much stuff, and it was either, put it in the attic or put it in a restaurant or give it to somebody who really wants it, and raise a little money for the Starlight Foundation, which is a great foundation.
David Hasselhoff, then, before you go, I've still got to draw attention to your words underneath there. A awful lot of stuff.
I'm more drawing attention to the fact that it looked like Spot the Difference when you saw him and the model of him behind him.
I'm sure he'd be intensely flattered by that. Stephen, thanks a lot. Stephen with Business. OK, we're going to move on very quickly to today's web news. It begins today with rather an incredible story, in fact, of a party which got rather out of control in the US. Have a look at this.
Hundreds of drunk students tearing down street signs, rocking cars and smashing windows. Strong clashes with police who were forced to use tear gas to try and break up the crowd and regain control of the situation. These astonishing scenes were filmed in Isla Vista, California on Saturday night after a huge spring break party degenerated into violence. Numerous accounts have appeared online over the weekend. In addition to the countless documents attesting to the confrontations between students and police and the damage caused to the community of Isla Vista, there are also photos posted by partygoers keen to immortalise their presence at the scene. Despite the rioting and destruction going on around them, some took a moment to take what they call a riot selfie, shots that generally feature a backdrop of a police line or tear gas smoke. But many weren't finding it quite so amusing the next day. And as we can see in these photos shared on social networks, woke up on Sunday with some painful reminders of the previous night. We see the marks left on their bodies by rubber bullets fired by police trying to restore order, and the irritated and bloodshot eyes that were exposed to tear gas. Mozilla concluded its announcement last Thursday that Brendan Eich, named CEO of the US firm on March 24th, had resigned with the words, "We're sorry, we must do better." The news comes after significant criticism of his support in 2008 of a legal measure banning gay marriage in California. The man himself, also the co-founder of Mozilla, confirmed the news on his blog. He thanked all those who supported him throughout his career and made no mention of the controversy surrounding his departure. A number of Mozilla employees have taken to Twitter hailing the news. Some have replaced their profile picture with the name of the company embedded in a red heart. They say they're proud to work for Mozilla, even if the days leading up to Brendan Eich's resignation have been somewhat difficult. Some had even called for the Mozilla CEO's departure via the microblogging platform. And users of the Firefox web browser had also joined the campaign, uninstalling the software, heeding the calls for boycott launched by online dating site OkCupid. But not everyone is welcoming the news. There have been thousands of messages posted to the Firefox input platform, with people saying the former CEO's freedom of expression has been violated, and in turn are now calling for a boycott of Firefox. With Google Street View, you can now take a virtual visit around Cambodia's Angkor Wat. The 12th century World Heritage Site has been digitally mapped for the first time, meaning in just a few clicks, you can take a closer look at the 100 or so temples, cultural and architectural treasures of the Khmer Empire. Jonas Ginter from Germany filmed the same scene using 6 GoPro cameras, and then pieced the frames together to create the illusion he was moving around on a tiny planet of his own. Astonishing work that you can check out on the budding filmmaker's Vimeo page.
Yeah, nice images. We decided we quite like that, although it does make you feel a little bit car sick, doesn't it? Coming up for you after the break here on Look at the very latest news, of course. And today in Focus, we're going to be reporting on one of the knock-on effects of the Rwandan genocide 20 years ago. With the 2 million Hutus who fled the country to neighbouring Democratic Republic of Congo, we're going to be meeting the militiamen who are the self-proclaimed defenders of Hutu refugees. That's in the next half an hour.